Hello guys and welcome to another video. My name's Mark, I'm an entrepreneur and property investor, and in today's video I am giving my thoughts on crypto, but in particular I'm giving my thoughts on FTX, which was a very well-known exchange which has recently filed for bankruptcy. Now before we get into the video, and I'm going to give you some real shocking stuff on this video, if you could give it a big like, it really does help me out with the YouTube algorithm. And remember, we have our subscriber dividend portfolio, which is no Ponzi scheme whatsoever. I put £1,000 of real money in with a real investment house here at Hargreaves Lansdowne every single month, and I'm going to pay out the dividends to you guys as they roll in, and that happens on the 10th or so of every single month. So please subscribe if you haven't already. But let's get on to my thoughts on the FTX saga, because it really is shocking. Or is it? I mean, what happens when you give 20-something-year-olds billions of pounds and give them no regulation to operate under? I think we've just found out. It's not very pretty. So for anyone who doesn't know, FTX was a Bahamas-based crypto exchange. Now Bahamas is perfect for this sort of stuff. Low regulation, no taxes, and they've basically been allowed to do whatever they want because you don't have to submit any books to any government. So they've just got on and run their business. And the way that they've run their business is going to shock you. Now, all the details haven't come out yet. A lot of this is speculation, but it certainly appears that there has been some very dodgy stuff going on from Sam and his girlfriend, Caroline. Now, first of all, we need to explain what these two organizations are and how they are intertwined. FTX was a crypto exchange, which meant essentially you or I could put real money and deposit that with them, and in exchange, they would hold tokens of cryptocurrency on our behalf. Now, that seems pretty simple, right? And we would pay them a fee to do that. The problem was they had the real money and we had the tokens that we couldn't really see, and they were held in the background, you know? So they may or may not have had them at any one point in time. They added some extra complexity by adding in their own token. So this is where the whole crypto thing gets a little bit murky because there's no real regulation in any of it. Anyway, they had about 32 billion of client funds under management, and they just so happened to lend 10 billion of this, according to research, to Alameda Research, which is a completely separate company, nothing to do with FTX, although its CEO was his girlfriend. And just to give you an idea of who they had running this 10 billion hedge fund based on crypto, here's a clip.
Yeah, absolutely could pull it off without my math degree. Use very little math. Use a lot of elementary school math. Being comfortable with risk is very important. We tend not to have things like stop losses. I think those aren't necessarily a great risk management tool. I'm trying to think of a good example of a trade where I've lost a ton of money.
So that is who they had in charge of this research company. And essentially what was happening, or this is what's alleged, is there was a commingling of funds. So money that people deposited on, real money that people deposited on the FTX platform, was being lent to Alameda to then make big bets on the crypto markets. Now, Sam has maintained that they're separate companies, not interlinked. However, it is clear that if he and his girlfriend living together both had these roles, how likely, honestly, as human beings, would you not talk to your partner who had a huge position in your business about business? I just find it completely impossible to believe that. That said, that is what the position is at the moment. Now, Sam just kind of says we kind of lost track of how big those positions were, and we didn't know that Alameda had such a big position with FTX. Now, if I'm running a business and that's my largest client, I'm aware of their existence, I'm aware of their positions. He apparently wasn't. Now, that being said, Caroline and Sam are now under a massive amount of scrutiny, and a new CEO has been appointed, John Ray. He dealt with the Enron collapse, and he is essentially overseeing the bankruptcy for FTX. Now, this is going to have huge ramifications because he's looking through the details and he's finding a complete failure of corporate controls. There were no board meetings. Expenses were paid with emojis. For example, a member of staff could just send a message and a supervisor would give them a thumbs up or a thumbs down when it came to expenses. And these weren't small expenses. Some of them were in the millions for property, for example. And there were many, many Bahamian properties bought with corporate funds in employee names. Now, so far, these workers haven't even been able to be located. They've got the properties, they can't find the people. They're not even sure if these people exist. So this might get deeper and deeper into, dare we say it, a fraud case. It certainly looks like that to me. Corporate funds to buy personal property, completely against what they should be doing with their customers' money. Now, there is a further twist to this. 8 Congress members tried to stop the SEC from looking into FTX. And guess what? 5 of them had donations from FTX. In fact, Sam and FTX were the second largest donor to the Joe Biden campaign. And he was well aware of the importance of getting people in power on side. He had people like Kevin O'Leary, Tom Brady, Joe Biden. These people he was paying in order to represent his business. And you have to understand, political influence exists. When you donate a huge amount to people's campaign, you better believe that buys you some access or influence. Of course it does. We're not stupid. We know this happens. So on to the big question, is he going to go to prison for this? Well, I think actually, if it gets found that he took customer deposits, told them in their terms and conditions, we were going to hold your deposits and buy the relevant crypto on your behalf in exchange for a fee, and instead lent the money to an organization which he owned and had a CEO as a girlfriend, I think it sounds a little bit more than dodgy, doesn't it, really? And when you look at all the stuff online, Mark Cuban, I mean, everybody is saying the same thing. If the evidence supports what it looks like it supports, he's going to prison. And he might be going to prison forever. And I think what we've actually done is just proven what happens when without regulation, you give a lot of young people a lot of money. They go a little bit crazy. And maybe age has nothing to do with it. Maybe it's just if you give anybody loads of money with no experience and they just build this huge thing in an instant with no regulatory approval, with no need to do anything, they do as little as possible. And this is the result. It's terrible. So if you've lost money in FTX, let me know in the comments. I met a guy who had lost 25 grand very recently. He was the one that said, can I do a video on my perspective? But let me know if you guys have. I'm really sorry if you have, but at the same time, I would warn everybody about this sort of industry. There's no regulation. Clearly, people are creating coins, pumping and dumping. I mean, these expressions wouldn't exist if it wasn't a risk. So please, please, please be careful when you're investing and know the difference between investing and gambling. Crypto, anything here, this is gambling right now, in my opinion. If you want to invest, property, index funds, can't go far wrong. Guys, let me know in the comments your thoughts. I'll see you on my next video. Cheers, guys.